Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we bark a lot. Thank you, Ronnie James Dio. A podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. I set him off. What is going on?
He's as excited as I am. We're all excited to be here.
His name is Ronnie James DOG. My name is Kevin Williams, and that's Robert Harrison.
Man, I'm out of breath. Not because of the stairs I just climbed. No, I was.
All right.
I was downstairs in the
doing some working out.
I was working out in the shop. I was bending 1 inch thick solid steel bars with my bare hands. That's why I'm tired.
Heavy metal.
Yeah. I mean, with my bare hands and a pipe wrench with a long piece of pipe and heating up till they're red hot. So, I mean, not just my bare hands, but my bare hands were part of the action, at least, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was all part of my evening fun.
There's a lot going on here. So what are you making? What is this?
I got commissioned to do a sculpture, and the sculpture is vines that are growing in the shape of a fireplace. And the fireplace is no longer there. The rubble of the fireplace is there. It's 150 years old at least, and at some point in the past, it was toppled by a storm probably. So a friend of mine bought this property, and it's in South Carolina, your home state. And so I had the idea one night. We're up there camping, and I proposed the idea, and he liked it. So I'm going to basically build vines that are the memory of the remains of this fireplace. And so I've just got started a few days ago, and I've got a long way to go, bending lots and lots of pieces of pipe to make them look like vines. So getting a lot of exercise the next month or so.
So that's what you got going on.
That's what I got. That's one of the things. Yes.
Nice.
Oh, and the most important thing tonight is I had Sloppy Joes for dinner.
Oh, Sloppy Joe.
Sloppy Joe. And I think these qualify as the best Sloppy Joes I've ever made in my life. I mean, that's a lot. That says a lot. I've made a lot of Sloppy Joes.
Now, is this a pre-made sort of mix, or you do this yourself?
No. I crossed that line about a year and a half ago and decided to just go all the way.
You turned 50, man. You figured out how to do this.
That's right. I'm like, after 5 million times, I should know how to do this.
5 decades in, I got this.
I still had to look it up. But you know what? You put in Sloppy Joes to make them really good. Dijon mustard blew my mind. Had no idea that mustard.
Wait. Are we saying that the French have something to do with Sloppy Joes?
Yeah.
Well, French listeners out there.
I mean, it just gives it that little something. You know what I'm talking about?
All right.
So all these things I had no idea my entire life I was missing. Just put a little bit of Dijon mustard in your Sloppy Joes. Yeah. You'll thank me later.
I'm going to blow your mind. I can't remember the last time I ever had a Sloppy Joe. Maybe I was a child.
I'm sending you home with the leftovers. I made so much. Oh my God. My freezer is half full of Sloppy Joe mix.
I sort of remember what they taste like, but I think I was probably 11 years old the last time I had a Sloppy Joe.
You know what happens is when it turns cold, I crave two things. Well, I'll crave three things. Chili, because I don't like chili in the summertime. I don't know what it is, but man, it turns cold. I love making chili. I love making Sloppy Joes when it gets cold. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I like oatmeal. I hate oatmeal. Any time of the year that it's above 65 degrees, I hate oatmeal.
Now, what do you put in your oatmeal? Because that's kind of what people do is they load it down with other stuff so they don't taste the oatmeal.
So in the old days, pre-turning 40, it was like 4 scoops of brown sugar on top of it. And that was good. And now...
some honey, some cinnamon,
just
milk, butter.
Butter. Yeah, a little bit of butter, whipped cream. There was no oatmeal in the bowl. To tell you the truth, it was all just sugar and
gummy bears.
Yeah. And the box was still sitting on the countertop. I forgot to put the oatmeal in the bowl. But no, apparently it's healthy. If you eat oatmeal, it's actually good for you. And I'm kind of aware of my health these days more than, once again, pre-turning 40. I enjoyed pissing off people like you and my other friends by eating cookie dough in front of you and eating all kinds of, like chasing. I actually did this. I was eating cookie dough and chased it with Mountain Dew. And now it just absolutely turns my stomach thinking about that.
And you don't do meth?
No, God, no. I mean, I should. I mean, I really should. I've heard you can clean your house in like half a day with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, back then, I didn't care. It didn't do anything to me back then. And then all of a sudden, you hit a certain age and your body goes, you know what, screw you. I'm not putting up with this crap anymore. So I had to stop doing that, among lots of other things. Swore off sodas, swore off all that. I drink my bourbon straight now. That took a little bit of getting used to, but now I enjoy just a glass of bourbon. That's fine. I don't need any mixers or chasers or anything like that. So anyway, that's our cooking show for today. Kevin and Robert's culinary delights, and listening to my health problems.
All right.
Because that's what people tune into.
And after you drink straight bourbon and eat
some oatmeal.
Healthy oatmeal, go listen to Pot of Thunder, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Slamfest Podcast, Decibel Geek, A to Z Radio, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Hustle, Disciples of the Watch, Podcast Rock City, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Podkiss, The Kiss Room, Ages of Rock, Retro Zest Podcast, The Synaptic Empire, and don't forget about Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us at InObscuria.com, like us, share us, recommend us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and leave us a review, please.
Yeah, I just texted your wife, said y'all should have sloppy joes tomorrow night. That's going to go over real well.
Okay, sure.
No, your daughters probably like it, but I don't know about your wife.
I doubt if they will. They're so weird.
Oh, really?
Kids
are they
weird,
picky eaters?
Man. They are so picky, and I was not that way, so I don't get it at all.
I don't understand why I wasn't 300 pounds at 12 years old. I ate anything and everything you put in front of me.
Yeah, my parents put it in front of me. I pretty much ate it.
Yeah, like rutabagas. That was the one thing that I'm like, nope, I'm noping out on the rutabagas.
Sometimes they'd have to tell me, oh, that's not edible. That was just decoration. And I was still.
That's it. That's why my first. Oh, and by the way, Ronnie James DOG had his first experience tonight with wasabi.
Ooh, how'd that go over?
Well, so my afternoon snack, dinner was sloppy joes. My afternoon snack was actually sushi. So about I've got 8 meals a day going on these days because I'm burning it off quicker than I can eat it. But I let him lick the plate, and I didn't notice there was a glob of wasabi left. And I wish I had my phone out to record that because there was lots of convulsing and sneezing and running around like something was chasing. It was awesome. Don't give your pets wasabi. Do not.
Yeah, it's probably a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. But if
peanut butter's good.
If they do eat it,
maybe not.
Be sure to film it really quick.
Well, man, I wanted to get back to our standards. We set such a standard for excellence in podcasting.
Yeah, we need to lower our standards a little bit.
I wanted to get back to it. So this morning I woke up, had a little juice, and then I went down to the crypt and I did a little
juice
seance.
Box?
It was not a juice box. No,
I poured
juice. I poured the juice. I poured the juice, and then I went downstairs and got the old Ouija board out and had a little seance.
Was it dusty? We haven't used it in a minute.
A little bloodletting, as one does in most mornings. Just normal everyday thing. But I thought I'd get back to it. Leeches, yeah. A little bloodletting. And I reached out to the spirits and I said, oh, spirits, give us something to talk about today. And all I could get to spell out was VS.
Versus?
VS. Well, I thought it was Veruca Salt. And then I was like, I don't know that I really wanted.
A big hit-ish.
It was a character in, what was it?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Well, I was thinking the band, but yeah, they were named after.
I didn't know where they were going for. I was trying to think. I was like no, that's Revolver.
Velvet Stilettos.
Velvet Underground. No, that doesn't
Very
work.
stupid.
Veruca Salt was the only thing I could come up with.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that we had a reference a few weeks ago that spawned a lot of debate on our socials.
Uh-oh.
And it's a debate that's been going on since the 80s, really. Well, let me just play this and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here.
7 deadly sins, 7 ways to win, 7 holy paths to hell, and your trip begins. 7 downward slopes, 7 bloodied hopes, 7 are your burning fires, 7 your desires. That's why we got about 20,000 heavy metal maniacs in the Are you people ready for some Judas Priest style heavy metal? MAIDEN! Let me see your hands in the air!
Scream for me, Long Beach!
That's right. It's been a while. It's been over a year, but we're going to do a little degrees of separation.
Maiden versus Priest.
Uh-oh. What jackass stirred this up?
Yeah, you.
Oh, sorry.
We actually did have a lot of debate about this online, and I was like,
Yeah, thinking it's the mail slow. I'm about to get the hate letters any day.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a wrong answer, really.
Oh, I'll find it. Give me time.
So, episode 101. We're going to start off with degrees of separation. It's been, like I said, over a year since we've done one of these. So what this is solo material, other bands and projects outside of the typical artist or group that we're associating here. So this is not going to be us covering Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. It's going to be covering the other projects that the members of those bands have done. And we're going to pit them one against the other.
I think there's more members in Iron Maiden than Judas Priest. But there's younger members in Judas Priest, though. It's going to be a good fight.
It's going to be a really good fight, and actually Priest have had 6 drummers alone, so they have more members, I think. Well, over the course of
the history, yeah. I'm talking one time on stage.
Maybe
Iron Maiden
not though,
because
Maiden had a bunch too. You're right. Yeah, both of these bands when they started off, they had so many different members before they even started recording. Yeah, that is almost you can't count them really, but they do when you kind of look up the history. But
they toured with them and played shows with them.
Yeah, but never really recorded, and we'll go through it. I thought I'd give a brief history first. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who Judas Priest or Iron Maiden are, you got some work to do. Yeah. Because there's a pretty mainstream kind of established what heavy metal is. But I'll just give you the quick down and dirty here. So Judas Priest, English heavy metal band formed in Birmingham in 1969.
Birmingham, England, just to be specific.
This is true. Birmingham. Yes, Birmingham, England in 1969. And they have sold over 50 million albums. 11 top 30 albums in the UK alone, and they are considered one of the biggest influences on the heavy metal genre next to their Birmingham mates, Black Sabbath, who are also from the same town and came out 1 year earlier than them. Only separated by 1 year.
And about 3 miles.
Maybe. They were ranked by MTV as the second greatest metal band of all time after Black Sabbath, and they won a Grammy in 2010, which I didn't realize that until I read that today. In addition to the sound, Judas Priest is also known for being revolutionary in heavy metal fashion. So all of the black leather, the spiked wristbands, everything.
Oh yeah, they get full credit for that.
Yes, so and we come to find out, years later that it's because Rob was really into like gay S&M.
Yeah, so. and listening to him talk about it is hilarious. He's like, how did you not know? He just flat out says that. He's like, yeah, how did you not figure that out?
I love it. They have released 18 full-length albums since 1974, and a new one is due out very soon. You all right there? You okay? Hit the old noggin.
How long have we been doing this? Still hitting the microphone.
This podcasting thing is new to us.
Ooh, what's this?
So that's Priest. Let's talk about Maiden. English heavy metal band formed in East London, 1975. They have sold over 100 million albums worldwide.
They've sold twice as much. I never would have guessed that. I thought it would be kind of even, but...
Well, we'll talk about, I think, why. But they are pioneers of the new wave of British heavy metal movement, which was in the late 70s and really influenced by Judas Priest. They have gone on to rack up over 74 major awards across the globe. And I think that plays into a lot of why they have sold so many albums. No band that I can think of has embraced touring the world as much as Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden has played, I guess Metallica is probably the only other one I can think of, but they have played almost every country in the world that you can think of that would take them.
Yeah. When you think about them, they're a true international sensation.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a few, obviously, I don't know what I was going to say, even the Beatles, I don't know enough about them, like South America. Were they huge in South America?
I mean, they probably are, but they didn't last long enough to ever tour anywhere near
Whereas
the
Iron
places.
Maiden is a household word.
Maiden goes
Brazil
to India. Maiden goes to, you name it, they've been there. If there's
Scream for me, Bangladesh!
Exactly, man. So, like I said, they've won major awards across the globe. So they've won Grammys, Brit Awards, Junos, honorary doctorates, state prizes, some of the biggest music festivals in the world. They've won the honors and they've headlined most of them, and their sales recognition awards are just outstanding. I didn't look up these guys' net worth, but it's got to be pretty much They have to be at the top of the heap with Metallica, I would think, when it comes to maybe AC/DC. But
Yeah, because they're just continuous hit makers, and touring.
Just keep going.
Now you got to remember, you got to mention the one cool fact that makes them extremely different from every other band out there.
And
their pilot.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yes, they have some very unique individuals. So they've had 5 #1 UK albums. They've released 17 full-length albums since 1980, and the latest, Senjutsu, just came out this year. It reached number 3 on the U.S. Billboard 200. For people not from the U.S., that is an amazing feat because we don't listen to rock music in the U.S. anymore.
No.
And the fact that any legacy metal band is able to do that is incredible.
Yeah, the average person over 50 hasn't gone and probably purchased new music in a long time, but they hear that coming out and that gets them off the couch.
Yeah. 2 very influential bands and an amazing legacy for both of them. If you Google Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest, you will get a ton of pages, sites, blogs, videos just dedicated to the subject of the competitive debate between who rules over Maiden and Priest. And why are these comparisons even there? You don't see this with other bands, but man, do you see it with maybe Metallica and Megadeth because they have a history, right?
Exactly. Common membership and
there's
an
no
actual competition.
There's no common membership or, their paths crossed over the years, but there was nothing to drive this. So I put together, this is my own list that I put together of why the comparisons. So let's just go through a few. 2 of the biggest metal bands of all time, both from the UK, both have worldwide appeal that's synonymous with what we know as heavy metal. The only other 2 bands that truly represent heavy metal as much as these 2 bands are Sabbath and Metallica. I'm talking about grand scale. These are the grandest of grand scales. Both have genre-defying vocalists who have soaring operatic styles along with their amazing screams, right? Also, those 2 vocalists that you know of or who you think of to represent these bands, both were not the band's original vocalist.
No, I knew that about Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Did I know that about Judas Priest?
Paul Di'Anno with Maiden did the first 2 albums. That's well known. Judas Priest was formed by a guy named Al Atkins. He was their original singer. Now, he never got to record anything other than demos with them, but Judas Priest was his band. The name came from him.
Oh, wow. Did he get kicked out of his own band?
Yeah, he left. I don't know if he was asked to leave or what, but basically once KK Downing and Ian Hill came in, they kind of went on the search and they found Rob. And so
at least Di'Anno got a couple of albums and some tours and made some money from it. But
so my understanding is there were some early demos that did not have any of the members that are in Judas Priest that we know of.
Completely different band.
Completely different band. They just had the name.
Wow.
So interesting. And I never knew where the name of the band came from. I remember seeing something a long time ago, and one of the guys in the band, it was like a documentary or something, and he was explaining that we saw it spray painted on a van and we just thought it was cool. And what I looked up, what I saw was there's actually a Bob Dylan song that has Judas Priest in the song title. It's not the whole title, but something Judas Priest.
So they easily could have stole it from Bob Dylan, but disclaimed they saw it on the side of the road.
But never mentioned that.
Yeah.
Until I read this. But
they don't want to get sued.
Who knows? Okay, here's some other comparisons. The reason we're comparing these 2 bands. The twin guitar attack.
Yes, guitar harmonies.
The intricate and amazing guitar harmonies that they both do throughout a lot of their songs. Now, Maiden has gone with a 3 guitar attack since 2000. So
they're like, oh, really?
They're adding one more, aren't they?
It's always better with more.
Both have iconic genre-defining band logos and album cover artwork. I would say that the tipping point probably goes to Maiden there with their mascot Eddie, who is on every single cover that they've ever had over 18 albums. Judas Priest has had some just major genre-defining heavy metal covers, but they don't have a single concept.
No.
Although in the 80s, they kind of all looked the same.
They had the same style, but there was no reoccurring theme.
But now their logos, both of them, those logos, those fonts are now...
The fonts are
synonymous with heavy metal or hard rock.
You get called out if your flyers for your local band uses the same font. People are like, oh man, you're a poser.
Here's something that's interesting. Both began using synthesizer layering in the late 80s that was very polarizing to many of their fans. And fans still talk about that to this day. So in 1986, Turbo came out for Judas Priest, had a lot of guitar synth on it, and Somewhere in Time came out from Iron Maiden, same thing. They had a lot of this guitar synth. Now, the funny thing there is both of those albums were my gateway drugs to these bands. That is when I got on board with both of them. So I have absolutely no problem with those sounds and those albums.
Well, with Priest, that's true, because Turbo Lover, the synth, I was totally into all of that. But I don't remember. I'll have to go back and listen to the Iron Maiden.
Yeah, go listen to Somewhere in Time.
I can't think of the synth in that one, because my gateway to Iron Maiden was Trooper.
Peace of Mind.
Yeah, I mean, not even the whole album. In college, I had a friend that loved it, and for our first band, it wasn't even a band, it was just we played at a party. We decided to play that. Okay, I had only been playing guitar for about 9 months, and it was, I'm so glad there's no recordings of that. It was just the probably worst rendition of the Trooper that's ever been played in the history of the world, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
All right, so some other reasons that we were comparing these two bands, or reasons I think people compare these two bands, both of their iconic lead singers, so both Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford, left their bands in the early 90s, and both bands released 2 albums with their replacement singers in the 90s. Crazy that they have that trajectory, both of them. And both of them followed much harder times in the U.S. Now, around the world, never really faltered their success, but in the U.S., plummeted in the 90s.
Started
when they
playing
had those
the small
replacements.
venues.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity.
You got to see them at the Masquerade.
Which was brilliant for me. I saw them at the Masquerade, 2,000 at the most, seater.
A club.
And I walked up to Steve Harris and stood in front of him and just shat my pants. Just amazing.
I love you.
Just amazing.
That
All
would
right,
be cool.
Now, also, both of their iconic lead singers returned in the early 2000s to take their respective bands further than they did in the 80s. So they continued the legacy, whereas they could have just come back and done the whole legacy band thing.
Yeah, play the hits.
We're going to play the hits and get out. No, they both went on to still, to this day, they're recording new albums, and when they release these albums, they're going to number 3, number 1. They're still killing it. And some of that's nostalgia, and some of it's just these bands have been established as the bands, and so even the young people are picking up their albums because they know they've heard of these bands. So
you get the original fans now in their 60s.
50s, 60s.
50s, 60s. I'm trying to make myself seem young, but they keep picking up the new guys. And yeah, that's amazing to have 5 generations of fans.
Unreal. Yeah, Priest were to go out before they had to halt their touring. They were going out for their 50th anniversary tour.
We saw them the tour 49th anniversary, I guess. You and I saw them that way.
Right.
Did I see that they're touring together next year?
Well, we're going to talk about that, but that is a rumor.
I keep
seeing it as well. That is
news.
A rumor that 2022 that
so
there's
it's a
going to
rumor.
be. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you bought your tickets to the Bruce Dickinson spoken word?
No, I have not.
Did you see that?
I did see that. I do
what
want to
in the
do
flying
that.
hell am I going to go listen to Bruce Dickinson? Now,
I'll do it. He's going to give us a fencing demonstration too.
Yeah, I mean, spoken word fits with some people, but I don't know. He's not angry enough to make it interesting.
Now, if he were touring with Henry Rollins, I would definitely.
Yeah. Like I said, Henry Rollins, we listened to, and it was entertaining. But I don't know. Like I said, Bruce Dickinson at this point, so we can talk about flying a jet or something.
I don't know. We'll talk about him a little bit later as well, but both bands have gone down the progressive metal route in their later years as well.
Kevin just did quotation.
I did air quotes,
yes.
To progressive metal. I don't know what you want to call it, but they've both started doing these more intricate, longer form songs. Judas Priest has pulled back a little bit from that, but Maiden for sure. That's where they're headed now. So if you want to get into Maiden now, you just got to strap in and put 90 minutes on the...
Get your headphones, a comfortable chair, grab a drink.
90 minutes on the clock, because that's how long you're going to be. Both bands have released a single concept record. Maiden had Seventh Son of a Seventh Son in the late 80s, and then Judas Priest had Nostradamus in the 2000s. Was an interesting one. I love Seventh Son, not so much Nostradamus. But anyway, we need a Kiss connection. Both bands...
We do?
Both bands supported Kiss early in their touring careers. Priest were the opening act on the 1979 Dynasty tour.
That'd be a good
Disco Kiss.
Oh, no, that was disco.
Opening.
Okay, I got 1 year off there. Yeah, it was Disco Kiss. It was the start of the dark period for Kiss.
And then the next year, so Eric Carr's first tour, the Unmasked tour, which was them doing that kind of power pop, we don't know who we are thing.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden opened. So I can only imagine for both of those tours that, the youngsters were like, boy, these openers are pretty good. I don't know what Kiss is doing, but But there's our Kiss connection for the day. Okay, now those are all comparisons and all great reasons that we should compare these two bands. Major differences. The biggest difference to me is the bass guitar style and presence. You couldn't get more opposite than Ian Hill, who's just going to lay down for the most part the root note and just chug along eighth notes, versus Steve Harris, who has developed his own sound for Iron Maiden. He's the leader of Maiden. He writes most of the songs, and his bass is just, it's so unique, and he's developed his own galloping style, so it always sounds like he's galloping, like there's a horse playing his bass for him. Just such a unique bass guitarist versus Ian Hill, who great bass guitarist, but he's a pocket guy, kind of like AC/DC, he just lays it down. Not saying he can't play the hell of his instrument, just very different. Also, the drumming styles. So Maiden has had two very unique drummers. First, they had Clive Burr. He left after Number of the Beast, and then Nico McBrain came in, and they both have their own styles that I have never heard any other drummer that sounds like them. Very similar to me to listening to like a Keith Moon or, that type of drummer that you just know, oh, that's who that
you can
is.
hear it.
Versus Judas Priest, who have had literally 6 drummers since their inception. Now, they did have Scott Travis come in, Painkiller. So 1990, Scott Travis comes in. He's been with them ever since. So he's been the mainstay, first American to join Judas Priest. They've had other Americans since, but that was also different for them. So those are the major differences that I can say off the bat.
Well, and when we saw Iron Maiden, they had all original guitars that had been with the band, right? All three of them none of them were newer replacements, right?
Well, yes. So Adrian Smith came in. He didn't play on the first album. So he came in second album. But my God, he's been there since 1980.
That's what I'm saying. Like long-term members. Because when you say original, once again, there are no original members to Priest. But when we saw Priest, the only long-term members were Halford and
Ian Hill.
I think, right? Everybody else were newer.
Well, because of and we'll talk about Glenn Tipton a little bit, but he has Parkinson's, so he only comes out for the encores because he does tour with him. But he can't play the whole show. Kind of like when we saw Styx, how the original bass player just comes out for a couple songs.
Yeah,
super cool. I love that. I think that's great.
It's a good tribute to them.
Yeah. So that's the major difference. So let's jump into this. So the first battle that we're going to have here are the singers. We talk a lot about singers, and let's just jump into Iron Maiden. Bruce Dickinson. Now, he began his career with the new wave of British heavy metal band called Samson, and he went by the name of Bruce. Bruce? And he had a mustache. Go look it up. It's hilarious.
That's classic.
Yeah, not a good look. Not a good look. So he replaced Paul Di'Anno in 1982, just before they started recording the Number of the Beast album, which basically defined their sound going forward.
And he replaced him because Paul was a good singer, but very limited.
And I think he was unhappy with where they were going or what they were trying to do.
Okay, so it wasn't all everybody else. He was.
I think Steve and Paul knew that Paul couldn't take Steve where Steve wanted to go with his songwriting.
Right.
And so, I think they split.
Okay.
And Paul Di'Anno, he's gone on to have his own career with other bands. He had a Paul Di'Anno's Killers where they played his era. So really, he recorded the first 2 albums. A lot of people say that he brought more of a punk edge to Maiden, which also helped them in the UK to gain early popularity because they were blending that punk rock, that new wave of British heavy metal, where they were blending the hard rock and acid rock with the punk to get this kind of new sound.
And I'm more in his camp because I can't hit those notes that Bruce does. So true. But when I hear the early stuff, it's like, I can actually sing along with this because I'm not even going to try. I'm going to hurt myself if I try to pull a Bruce.
Now, Bruce left Maiden in 93 to pursue a solo career, and he actually began that in 89. He had a song on Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which I don't remember.
There were 5 of those?
There are more than that, but he had a song on that soundtrack, and I actually don't remember it. And then I do remember in 1990, he had an album called Tattooed Millionaire, and he had Yannick Gers as his guitarist for that solo album. When Adrian Smith left, that's when Yannick came into Maiden because Bruce had just worked with him.
Yeah,
so that's how he got
into
the
style.
Yeah, so anyway, he's done 6 solo albums from 1990 until 2005, so he did one more solo album after he went back to Maiden, and since then he's not done any solo albums. And the other thing that you were kind of alluding to, he's like the Renaissance metal guy. That he's a lead singer. He's a professional fencer. He used to fence in the 80s. He would actually go to tournaments like on tour. Crazy. He's a professional pilot. He's a certified pilot. He flies the 747.
Yeah, not the Cessna 120. It's a
this isn't a hobby.
747.
This is like major hours put in. major tests that he had to pass to do this, basically to be like an Air Force pilot in a way. If you go watch the Flight 666 documentary, it shows the whole thing, how he actually flies them to their tour stop, their destination, wearing his, pilot uniform.
Oh, yeah, he does the whole 9 yards. He's got his wings and his little stripes on his shoulder.
Yeah, and then once he lands the plane, he goes and he becomes Bruce.
Yep. Finishes the show, goes, takes a shower, gets on the plane.
Puts his uniform back on and gets on the plane. Just absolutely crazy. He's also an author. He's written both fiction and nonfiction books. He was a radio DJ on the BBC. He also was a beer maker. So Trooper, the beer that has Iron Maiden's name on it, that is all Bruce Dickinson.
I think we were drinking that the night we saw them, right?
We certainly were. And so he worked with Robinson's Brewery to come up with these flavors, and he's expanded the portfolio, and he's been able to take them into 40 countries. So this has pushed that little brewery further than they ever did before.
I need to write him a letter. I forgot that his beer helped me pass a kidney stone that night. Helped flush it out. So 4 beers in, it finally came out.
Yeah, let's send him something. We should send him a fruit basket.
I'll send him the kidney stone. I think I named it after, here's Bruce. I named it after you.
Well, let's listen to a little Bruce solo. So I'm going to play from his album Accident of Birth from 1997, which actually featured Roy Z on guitar and producing it, but also Adrian Smith. So he got Adrian Smith back, who was his former Maiden
kind
bandmate.
Of a family affair a little bit.
Yeah, brought him in to do this album. So I'm going to play the song Accident of Birth from the album of the same name.
Journey back to the dark side, back into the womb, back to where the spirits move like vapor from the tomb, the center of the cyclone, blowing out the sun, break the shackles of your union to the
speaking as a single guy, I think that's one of the worst things to think about is coming home and your friends going, "Hey, welcome home. Somebody's got a baby over here. We didn't know." I'd have to turn right back around and walk out, but don't. So his solo work, I mean, I've heard the other solo album, The Tattoo Millionaire. That was slightly different than Iron Maiden, but this one, I don't know if I could say it's that. I mean, obviously the same guitar players, same singer, but I can't say it's that much different in style. It's got just a fraction of a different rhythm to it, but it's good. It's really good. That's a compliment to say that it's sounds similar to the actual Iron Maiden band.
And this album is kind of right in the middle of his solo albums, and it's him. He had stretched quite a bit with the first 3 or 4 solo albums, and then when he did this one, he was really getting back to that kind of Maiden type of sound. Yeah. And that's why he brought in Adrian.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I could have played some stuff and you would have been like, whoa, this is way different.
So it varies then throughout the album.
It does. Okay. It does. And if you haven't heard all of the Bruce Dickinson solo stuff, I would highly recommend it. There's not a bad album. They have some crazy looking covers and titles, but they're all good. It's all really good stuff. All right, so we are going to pit Mr. Dickinson versus Mr. Rob Halford.
We need the boxing bell.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, so Rob Halford, he left Priest in 1992 and promptly formed this band that we're going to play called Fight. And he brought along Scott Travis, the drummer, with him. But Scott didn't leave Priest. This was kind of odd to me. He continued to be kind of in both bands, or maybe he had an agreement with Glenn and KK that he could do this, but to my knowledge, he didn't actually leave Priest. He just did this with
while they were on a break
Rob.
Or something.
Yeah, so while they were trying to figure out where they were going, I'm sure. They released only 2 albums as Fight, so 93 and 95, and then they split up just before starting the 3rd album. And I think part of that was because Rob was trying to figure out how he wanted to make his next move, which he made in 1998. He came out of the closet on MTV and announced to the world that he was gay, and I think he was just saying, okay, I'm going to make this announcement. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm also going to change the trajectory of what I was doing. So he didn't release another Fight album. Instead, he put out an industrial metal album under the name 2, which is a bizarre album that has, I think Trent Reznor had something to do with it.
Oh, yeah. I remember this, and people were going, what the hell is this?
But that was, at the same time that he made his announcement. I think in his mind, and I haven't read his autobiography, which came out, I believe it was even this year it came out. I haven't read it, but I have a feeling that he really thought that it wasn't going to go well.
Yeah. I think think of the masculine world.
The macho metalheads.
Yeah, and I totally understand him going, you know what, here it is, and I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do this hardcore other thing that you won't be into anyway.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But to my knowledge, I never heard anybody say anything.
No, it was time. I mean, if it had been 10 years earlier, who knows? But by 98, it was at the point where everybody loved him so much that what are you going to do? I mean, I'm sure there were a few people, but an extreme minority that
I just remember people
nobody paid attention
talking about it. Like, did you see that he came out?
Yeah,
but it wasn't like, oh my God.
No, I mean, it wasn't top stories. Like he said, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. Okay, cool.
And maybe
move on.
You had your Freddie Mercurys, you had your Elton Johns who had already kind of come out, and people already knew. So maybe it wasn't going to be that big.
And he
deal.
wasn't, let's say, as flamboyant. His way he dressed,
he was in his own way.
In his own way, but I mean, a lot of lead singers in metal bands were very similar, but he was just a cool guy, and nobody had any problems with it. I mean, it really wasn't a big deal. Yeah. And now, of course, was it? I'm doing the math real quick. 23 years later, sorry, I had to stop a second and do math. But yeah, now it would be even less of a deal now. But that was one of the first times that people confronted it and went, oh, okay,
well, whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I do want to play something from Fight, though. I think the 2 albums that came out were really good, and I feel like he was going for coming out of Priest doing some pretty heavy stuff. I think he wanted to go even heavier, and I think he was looking for sort of that Pantera meets thrash kind of thing, and that's sort of what Fight gives us. So here we go. We're pitting Bruce against Rob. So here's Rob's offering with Fight. This is Life in Black from War of Words, 1993.
Okay, that was definitely less priestish, but I like the way the slower tempo just really opened up room for his voice, because I mean that's what people come to see. The band is great, but his voice is what drives that band. And when they play the really heavy, Painkiller, those type songs, it's just a cacophony. I mean, it's just an assault on your senses in a good way. But this was kind of cool to let him have some space, and it wasn't over the top too much. That's why I tend to put Iron Maiden slightly above Priest as far as preference. Not that there are better bands. I don't even want to go into that kind of a debate. It's just for me personally, I find Iron Maiden just slightly more melodic, if you can even say that. But with Halford's voice, it's just incredible. And the fact that it's 70 whatever years old, he still sounded damn good on stage.
He's still doing it. Yeah.
Good God almighty. And how many musicians can hit those notes at that age after doing it for all these years? It's incredible.
Yeah, so I cherry picked that song off of that album because the rest of the album is pretty brutal.
You went the other direction.
Fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the pocket of that one, and I just love the eeriness and the vibe that comes off in that song. All right, so...
And one more thing. I mean, that has more to do with a little bit of grunginess to it, because if you compare that to Soundgarden, my favorite Soundgarden songs are this little bit slower ones. They're just drony, but then, the vocals just come screaming at you because there's so much room for those. So it kind of reminded me of that, and that's another reason I like that.
And that's exactly, I think, what he was going for. This is 1993 when this came out.
Then yeah,
this was him trying to separate himself from what had been done in the 80s and early 90s to move forward.
I'm thinking Outshined, that tempo of Outshined.
So I'm thinking he's taking everything that's heavy in the current scene of 1993, and he's trying to bring that in.
Yep.
But okay.
Good job.
All right. Versus who are you going to call now?
Do we have to pick a winner?
You got to pick a winner based on these two songs.
You're going to get my ass kicked.
The lead vocalist.
You just want to see me get my ass kicked again.
Two amazing bands. Who's the winner?
Oh, I'm going to have to give it to Priest on that one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, the Dickinson song was good, but it didn't stand out as much to me as the Priest song.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep saying Priest song. The Halford song. Yes.
And I find myself, even though I love the Bruce Dickinson solo albums, I told everyone to go listen to them. I find myself going back to the Halford solo stuff. His band Halford, I really love those albums. And this was Fight. I go back to these, maybe not as much as the Halford material, but I revisit Rob's solo stuff more than I do Bruce's, even though they're both fantastic. 2 points for Priest in this one.
Okay.
All right, let's move forward. Now, the next matchup are the band leaders. So for Iron Maiden, the primary songwriter, the founder, the leader of Maiden is Steve Harris. He formed that band in 1975, and it took him all the way until 2012 before he released his first solo album, which was called Steve Harris's British Lion. And it's not exactly a solo album. A guitarist named Graham Leslie had given him a cassette tape back in the 90s and said, Steve, take a listen, let me know what you think. And Steve really liked it. And so Steve was sort of coaching, I don't know what you want to call it. He was sort of helping these guys, find their sound, and he liked what was there, and then he started working with them, and he was going to produce them, and he was going to manage them, and then he was going to write with them, and then before you know it, years have gone by, and he's like, let's just put this album out. I'll put it out under my name, and because I helped you write it, and we'll call it Steve Harris's British Lion. And so the first album came out, and it was very much a Steve Harris British Lion. But last year in 2020, they released their second album. It was just the band was British Lion. Steve Harris is obviously the bass player in that band. So I want to play something from the second album because to me it was a lot punchier. It was more of an album between a band, and I thought the vocals were better. So let's play some British Lion with Steve Harris. Now he's taken a much different approach to his bass style in this band, and you'll hear it here, but he's not doing the Maiden thing so much. He's trying to play a little bit different. He's trying to do a little more mainstream rock, a little less metal, a little less proggy from what he would normally do. So here's British Lion. This is Elysium from The Burning that came out last year, 2020.
All the years gone to waste, and nothing to the tears I taste. We all need a friend to guide us. Life is hell when you're alone. A river running from your eyes. We're all searching for a prize. Caught between a life's addiction, borderline and crucifixion. Yet still I'm amazed, and I have to gaze as the sun sets today, sets fire to my pain. And I must believe as you say these words to me. I'll take another risk, it's all that I know. All I have witnessed in my life, don't let forgiveness won't come by. Pay the price for the things we do. Elysium, that's where I'm bound, where I'm lost, where I am found. Keep it close to my side. Still I find a reason to believe. Black clouds gather from the past. Release me from the stone I cast. Wonder stands in front of me now. I can see such beauty inside you. Only made of skin and blood. Hold on to the things you love. Walk the line, but walk it straight. Elevate yourself to new horizons. Yet still I'm amazed, and I have to gaze as the sun sets today, sets fire to my pain. And I must believe as you say these words to me. I'll take another risk, it's all that I know. All I have witnessed in my life, don't let forgiveness walk on by. Things we do to the ones we love. Elysium, that's where I'm bound, where I'm lost, where I am found. Keep it close to my side. All I have witnessed in my life, don't let forgiveness walk on by. Things we do to the ones we love. Elysium, that's where I'm bound, where I'm lost, where I am found. Keep it close to my side. Still I find a reason to believe. Don't forsake me now. Don't leave me on my own. Need you more than I can say. So afraid to feel this way.
So if Yeah, that kind of sounded like a Metal Marillion.
It sort of did, yeah.
Just a heavier version of that.
A little poppy edge to, I don't know.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's different.
I want to like it even more. What's holding me back is that freaking guitar tone. We've talked about it before. It sounds like he's plugged directly into the mixing board, comes out of the mixing board into a hard drive, and that's it. There's no personality, no warmth to it. It's just a lot of new bands sound this way. Now, the lead at the end wasn't like that, but throughout the rest of the song in my right ear, if you're listening to it on headphones, it's just sitting there. And the vocals were beautiful. The bass was great. Everything else was perfect. I love that song, but I would love it even more if it just had a different guitar tone.
See,
pick one, anyone, just not that one.
Yeah, I wasn't focusing on that as much, though. Now that you say it, I know
Once I heard it, I couldn't get it out of my head, the whole song.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What I heard was, why didn't they overdub some backing vocals?
Yes, that was my other point. It could have been soaring.
Needed harmonies.
This song could have been like soaring huge, not huge on the charts, but huge. Just
a bigger sound.
It had room for a lot more vocals on there.
It's like there was no lift in the choruses because there was no harmony to it.
God,
at the end, they added a little teeny bit. I think there was one more voice at the end, and I love that outro
There was
part.
so much room for some harmonies on that, or just background vocals.
And that's fine if the rest of the guys in the band just aren't singers, but you're recording. You
have
can
tracks.
You can just
we did that.
Man.
We had 4-part harmonies, and I was the only one singing.
You're the only one doing it. Yeah, so that to me that was a miss there.
Yeah,
and the whole album's that way. They just keep it bare bones. But
now, when did you say this is 2020?
2020, last year. Yeah.
So more than likely they were recording this in separate places. And
no, they released this in January, so it came out.
Oh, okay.
Pre-pandemic.
I was gonna say because most everything everybody recorded their part, sent it in. Somebody else mixed it, and so it has that sound where it's people were in 4 different countries. But I was trying to give them an out. But if they're in the same room, they have no excuse.
Yeah, and that was my problem with the first album. I liked the songwriting, but the first album,
songwriting's perfect.
The first album, the singer's even less confident.
Oh,
and there's no harmonies, and it just comes out really dry. Like there's no effect on his voice, which I'm all for that. I'm fine, but sometimes there are certain singers who need some effect. You need a little wetness to it. So moisture. Needs to be moist.
Moisture.
Yes.
But no, I 100% agree with that.
Okay, so Mr. Steve Harris is up against the primary songwriter and leader of Judas Priest, who just happens to be Mr. Glenn Tipton. And he is the primary songwriter. He joined Priest in 1974 while they were recording their first album. So when he joined the band, he got to come in and lay his guitar parts down for their first album. And he had just joined. So that's pretty cool.
How's it going, guys?
He's been on every Judas Priest album.
Let me just plug in here.
Now, he released his first solo album in 1997. Took him a while as well. He enlisted a whole bunch of amazing guest players for his album. And we've actually played one of these cuts before when we did our Metallica episode that we did. It was actually a Degrees of Separation, the Big Four, right? And so one of the songs I played was something that Robert Trujillo played on, which was a Glenn Tipton song. We're not going to play, obviously, that same song, but he also had Billy Sheehan come in and lay down some bass.
Our friend.
He also had John Entwistle, so this is prior to John Entwistle
our future
passing
friend.
Away.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to meet him. He's
someday.
Someday. Don Airey, who was Deep Purple's keyboard player after John Lord passed away, and Cozy Powell, another person who has passed away. He had Cozy on the drums. So we're going to play a song.
They're all dead.
They're all dead. We're going to play a song that features Billy Sheehan on bass, Cozy Powell. Not dead yet.
We keep feeding him potted meat. He won't last long.
Cozy Powell on drums and Don Airey on keyboards. And before we get into that, I do want to mention that Glenn released a second solo album in 2006. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2018 and has stopped playing on tour with the band full time. So he only performs the encores, but he is still the main composer and still records with the band. And apparently they're recording either now or they've already recorded. So there's another album coming out soon.
He's the guitar player emeritus.
Oh, I like that. So here's some Glenn Tipton from 1997 from the album called Baptizm of Fire. Here's the song, Baptizm of Fire.
Thanks. The paint is peeling off the wall behind me. I'm going to have to fix that.
Now I'm out of breath.
Good Lord have mercy. I mean, holy hell. You just pulled that out of your ass and threw that at me. I'm like, what? Oh my God.
I could have put on a song.
I don't know what I was expecting though. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I could have put on another song from that album. All the other songs are not instrumentals. It's Glenn singing. And quite honestly,
bless his heart.
It comes across to me like here's his demo that he's going to hand to Rob, and Rob will polish it up.
Sing it. Yeah, here's the words I want you to sing.
But my God, man, when he gets those players in a room with him and you hear something that Glenn has only just done in bits and pieces throughout the Priest catalog, he is just shredding the entire thing, and he's not having to share it with KK. And
yeah, usually they trade off.
They trade off, and it's great. But to hear him just shred, and then to have these players behind him, I mean, Billy Sheehan, dude, just going
hats off. I mean, of course, if you got Billy Sheehan, you're going to do this, but hats off to him for having a bass solo. I mean,
two of them.
Two bass solos. I loved hearing that. That was amazing. God, that is shredding. Because it just really just tears up the guitar. I don't know how he gets more than 2 or 3 uses out of each guitar. He's got to just completely destroy them.
I don't know.
How did the thing at the end? I mean, if you played it again, I'd be like, I play guitar. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even picture where his fingers are to do those runs. I mean, just so fast. And he's not, when he recorded this, you said 2006?
97.
Oh, 97.
His second album.
Second album. Okay, sorry. But still, 97. He'd already been doing this for, 25 years. That's insane.
And what I love about it is it's given him the platform to do something that he, like I said, only did in bits and pieces for Judas Priest, because he had to share the stage and he had to...
You got Halford completely taking the spotlight.
Priest had some instrumentals, but never like that. Not shred instrumentals. So it was cool to hear him just let loose and just have fun. I can only imagine how much fun they had doing that.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have Steve Harris versus Glenn Tipton.
Man, you're stacking the deck here. That's a no-brainer. As much as I wanted to like that first song, got to go with Glenn.
I am too.
Yeah.
2 points for Priest.
Yeah, he earned that one. Earned it.
All right. Well, Priest are racking up here so far. Let's see what happens when we go to our next round, where we have the guitarist. So, Mr. Adrian Smith joined Maiden as the second lead guitarist just after the first album came out. So he is not the guitarist on Iron Maiden's self-titled debut. That was Dennis Stratton, and he left, and they got Adrian Smith in. But Adrian was the first of the original band that everybody knew. Mm-hmm. He was the first guy to leave. So once they had established that sound when Bruce came in, by 1990, Adrian Smith said, I'm not really digging where you guys are going for No Prayer for the Dying, so I'm going to go and do my own thing. And that's what he did.
That's code for, I'm pretty comfortable financially. I'm going to go sit on the beach.
Well, he released, so he did release a solo album prior to that, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have expected it to. And I remember back then, that was the late 80s, he released a solo album, Adrian Smith Project, and I tried to find it, and I never could find it. But distribution as it was in the 80s and where I was, so just didn't happen. And he's done lots of other albums, and he came back and joined Bruce's band, like I said, in the 90s. And then when Bruce decided to go back to Maiden, 1999-2000 period, he brought Adrian with him. And that's when they had the 3-guitar attack. Yeah. They didn't kick Yannick out and say, Adrian's back. They just said, we're just going to add Adrian back to the mix, and you guys figure out what parts you're going to play.
Draw straws. Flip a coin.
Double it up. Who cares?
Whatever. Who cares? We're Iron Maiden. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
I appreciate the fact they brought him in. I mean, when I say nobody cares, more guitars? Sure.
Well, what's cool about Adrian Smith, and I didn't realize it until much later, after he left, I kind of realized what was missing, but he's more of a blues guitarist by nature. Mm-hmm. So he always had, even though he played in a metal band, he always came at it with a blues approach, and you can hear between Dave Murray and himself on those earlier Maiden albums that are just iconic. You can sort of hear that a little bit.
Was he the one, or which one was the guitar player when we saw him? He's wearing white. He was putting his foot up on the speaker stack, and
that's Yannick.
Putting his foot above his head just to show that how flexible he was at whatever age he is. Yeah, and meanwhile, I'm in the audience passing a kidney stone. Yeah. I'm like, this is something's wrong. These guys are older than me, but he's in better shape than I am.
Yannick's the showman. and he's the one that flings it around his neck
Yeah.
and whips the strings with the cord. He takes the guitar cable and whips the
It
strings
smacks, instead of using a bow.
instead of using a pick. Or
No,
whatever.
it was great. It was extremely entertaining. I'm sad that I had to wait that long to see them live, but
Yeah.
we did it.
Yeah, but Adrian, he's a little bit more laid back, but Adrian was the guy who always did the backing vocals back in the day. So Steve Harris would get up to the mic, but I don't know how much Steve actually sang. But
He
Adrian
turned
actually
it
sang.
way down in the mix.
Yeah, and he actually has a great singing voice. You can hear it on his solo stuff. And just this year, so we're about to pit two guitarists against each other, both with albums that came out in 2021.
Oh.
Adrian Smith got together with Richie Kotzen. So if you're familiar with Richie Kotzen, he was in Winery Dogs with Mike Portnoy, and he was in a weird version of Poison in the early 90s when Poison tried to go legit. They brought in Richie to be like this amazing bluesy guitarist and make them sound more real.
Legit and real.
And it's like, you're Poison, just be Poison.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Go dance around.
that was a weird album, man. But anyway, Richie Kotzen, amazing singer, amazing player, just all around one of those guys that can just do it
Wait,
all.
was CC still with the band? They added him to the band, or they
got
took his
rid of
place?
CC.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was one of the
he
times
took
they
the place
fired
of
him.
CC DeVille, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just weird, very bizarre. But anyway, he joined up with Adrian Smith, and they put out an album this year called Smith Kotzen, and they share vocal duties. So you're going to hear Adrian singing the lead vocals on the verses, and then Richie will come in on the choruses. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
So here's a song from Smith Kotzen called Running.
Time keeps rolling like a river of life. And now I stand in the middle. I see it all.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear his voice without Bruce. And you separate this two. It made me think of Zach Wilde. I never realized how much he sounds like Ozzy until I heard him doing solo stuff, and I'm like, oh man, of course. I'm sure on stage he did some backup vocals and stuff like that because he's got that voice just like Ozzy has. So in this case, it was a great match.
I'm not saying Adrian sounds like Bruce.
No, but a good
he
blend.
Definitely has his voice,
It
and
blends well.
He and Kotzen have very similar voices.
Yeah.
So
there's a couple of times I couldn't tell them apart.
Well, they're trading back and forth on the second verse quite a bit,
Okay.
like every other line, and they may have done that in the first verse, but it's hard to pick out.
Yeah.
But then when that chorus kicks in, you can tell that's Richie taking the chorus. But those two guys really blend well together. I don't know how they recorded this. Probably pandemic recording.
Same thing.
This.
They all probably have their own studios.
I'm sure they just here's my parts here. Okay, put yours on.
Yeah.
But it sounds really good. I was really impressed with this album, and it's probably going to make my list for 2021 for sure at the end of the year. But speaking of Richie Kotzen, Billy Sheehan, when we talked to him in Nashville, he told us that they also recorded. So Portnoy, Kotzen, and Sheehan recorded a new Winery Dogs album. So we've got that to look forward to at some point. But I really dug this album. I hope they do another one. All right, so we're going to pit Mr. Adrian Smith against Mr. KK Downing. So KK Downing joined the Fledgling Priest in 1970 along with his bass playing buddy Mr. Ian Hill. So they were the longest members in that band, the band that we know as Judas Priest. Now, he left Judas Priest in 2011 after the Nostradamus concept album, which is a tough listen for me. So he left after the Nostradamus album, and he thought that was going to be retirement for the band.
Okay, I'm leaving, so you guys...
He kind of thought they had all agreed this was kind of it, and then he was having some issues with the band and with management, so he was done anyway. And then they decided to go on without him. And that didn't go over so well with KK. But then you kept hearing, well, I'm retired. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
But then when they started releasing new albums,
he's like, wait, man.
He's like, wait, hold. This is my band. So they are not on best of terms. And KK thought that for the 50th anniversary tour, he thought he had another in again. Yeah. So anyway, they didn't invite him on the tour. In fact, they, even with Glenn kind of taking a step out, they have Richie Faulkner and they have Andy Sneap, who is their producer, playing guitar as well. And
is he also the producer?
Yeah. So so KK finally said, "Oh, okay, screw you guys. That's fine. I'm coming out."
I don't understand why. Now, I'm sure there was a lot of things that we weren't there, but for the 50th, you would have thought they could have figured out a way to.
Who knows what his terms were?
Yeah,
right?
True. Now he could have been saying, "Yeah, I'll come back if you do this and this."
So who knows?
Yeah,
but I'm kind of glad it's going the way it is, because to me, we're getting 2 albums out of this band, really. So what he's done is he's put together a band called KK's Priest. Now, I don't know if he's going to get sued or not, but this thing's come out. So KK's Priest, and he decided, you know what, if you guys are going to continue, I'm going to get Ripper, who was the replacement singer for Rob when Rob left. So it's KK and Ripper doing a really heavy Painkiller Ripper era style album.
Nice.
And I think it's really good. I've heard a lot of people on socials kind of saying it's not so good. I don't know what they're hearing, because to me it sounds like KK Downing style Judas Priest.
Yeah.
You be the judge. I'm going to play Raise Your Fist from Sermons of the Sinner that just came out 2021.
Show is born. Race go off. The sound is flying high in the air.
Just like old times.
Right. And maybe that's why people are saying, oh, it's not what because it does sound like they're trying to be priests, but KK is priest.
Yeah. I mean,
Ripper came in.
he was for a while.
Well, he was in a cover band or tribute band.
I mean,
that's where they got him.
he was in Priest for a while, so still one of the best rock and roll stories out there.
Oh my God. Yeah. They
It's
made a
just so
movie
cool.
out of it, right?
Yeah. I've still yet to see the movie. I know it's not exact to the. I mean, there's a lot of artistic
they took
license.
the concept.
Is the
and-
concept.
Yeah, they took
I
the
would
whole
love to
concept.
see the actual, like a documentary that shows everything, the timeline.
Oh my God. I wonder if they had cameras rolling back then. I don't know if they did. But
Yeah.
God, that would be really cool to see, like when Ripper walks in and the audition and then him recording. And
I mean, I think the story, what did they call him and he hung up or something like that. He's like, or somebody screwing around with him.
yeah, I don't remember exactly because it's been a while. But
Yeah.
I love Ripper Owens, man. I've seen him live a couple times. No matter who he's with, he just sounds like a pro.
Yeah.
He just brings it. And that guy's getting older too, and he still has the pipes.
Nice.
So, okay. We got to make a decision here, though. We've got Adrian Smith versus KK Downing.
Got to go with Adrian on this one.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
There's something about that Smith Kotzen album, man. It's very different than Maiden.
Yeah.
And KK is very similar to Priest, but there's nothing wrong with the KK album, but something about that Smith Kotzen song and that whole album is just
Yeah, it stuck with me just a
really
little bit
cool.
more.
It's just a little bit more unique.
Yeah.
So, all right, points to Maiden on that one.
Scream for me, Long Beach! Scream for me, Long Beach!
It's
Okay.
not a shutout.
The last battle. We might have a tie, or Priest may take
we
it.
have to go in extra innings.
Well,
speaking of,
okay. Oh, speaking of, you want to talk about that?
we haven't mentioned it this
We
whole
haven't,
episode.
yeah.
This will be old news by the time this airs.
Very old news by the time this comes out. But we happen to be in Atlanta, Georgia, so
Not
we're
just Atlanta, Georgia. We're a mile and a half away.
from the stadium, from the baseball stadium, where
Yes.
the Atlanta Braves. Well, they won in Houston, but they're coming back.
They're coming back.
They're coming back for a
we
big
had a big
parade.
party. They had 14,000 people in the stadium, even though they weren't
Watching
playing
it.
there.
Yeah.
And there was another 14 to 20,000 outside where all the restaurants are.
All just down the street
Yeah,
from you.
right down the street. Now, there is no way in hell I was getting in the middle of that. I'm like, no, I'm just going to just watch it from the comfort of my own home because I knew it was going to be a madhouse down there. It was, but not in a bad way. But so yeah,
Congrats to our Atlanta Braves.
Atlanta
for
Braves.
winning the World Series.
Chop. Oh, man. That's I love it. I love it. I'm not a sports fan at all, except for if I get on a bandwagon like nobody's business. If I can see that we're almost there, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm a fan. Yeah, for the last 6 games.
Well, the funny thing is, when I was in college, and that's when like you're at for most guys,
Yeah,
it's when
I was
you're
at my
really
peak.
into your sports.
Oh, yeah.
It means
College
It means a
football.
whole lot more than it does
You
later
didn't do
in life,
anything
but-
else on Saturdays other than that.
But I remember that was when the Braves were starting to get really good in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they won the series in 95, but they went to, lost a few. But
Yeah.
but anyway, when they were getting really hot, and I got so sick of hearing about the Braves because everybody was just going crazy that I just for, 2 years or so, and I was in South Carolina. I was not from Georgia. I did not live in Atlanta. I was just like, I don't want anything to do with the Atlanta Braves. I'm just sick of everybody making such a big deal. So I was rooting for whoever the Braves were playing.
You were their arch rival.
Yeah, I was just sick of it. And then, so my roommates and my buddies in college, I'm sure they're all looking at me now like, oh, now you're rooting for the Braves? Like, well, yeah, I've lived here for over 20 years now.
Yeah,
I think
it grew on you.
I think I can say that my hometown, I'll support my hometown
Yeah.
teams. Same thing, I used to support the Carolina Panthers. I lived in the Carolinas. When I moved to Atlanta after a couple of years, I'm an Atlanta
It's
Falcons
easier to be a
fan.
Falcon. Well, Falcons, good God.
They're a horrible team, but
horrible, god awful
you
mess
know,
of a football
but
team.
That's my team now.
Yeah.
That's this is my town.
Yeah.
I'm going to support my team.
So talk about bandwagons. I moved to Atlanta in 1995. Bam! They win the World Series. So I didn't have to suffer through all those years of them being horrible. There used to be like 600 people showing up to their games total. And then I show up. They win the World Series. Hey! And now I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. And yeah, so then I forgot they existed for a while. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, they built the stadium right down the street from the firehouse. And I'm not kidding. kidding. It's a mile and a half away.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, they moved the Atlanta Braves Stadium from downtown to where we are, which is just outside of the Atlanta area, really.
It's still technically Atlanta, but not really.
And it's really a nice place to go and hang out. It's like a destination spot. It's not just a stadium.
So if you come visit us, we'll take you down there when there's not a game, because you can go there and
best
lots
Cuban
of good restaurants.
sandwich in town.
Yes, whatever that name of that restaurant is. I know it's where it is.
El Super Pan.
Yeah, the super sandwich.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get back in.
Now I'm hungry. Be a sloppy Joe.
I'm going to have to try this. All right, so let's get back. We have one more Battle Royale.
Focus.
Battle Royale drummers.
Ooh.
All right.
So outside of my wheelhouse here. So.
All right, so Nico McBrain. I don't know if you knew this.
Is it Nico or Nico?
Nico.
It is Nico. Okay.
Nico McBrain. He played with Pat Travers and the French metal band Trust before being asked to join Iron Maiden.
I only know one Pat Travers song. Boom, boom, out go the lights.
That's
one
horrible. Most people know. Pat Travers is good.
He's good. That's what I'm saying. It's horrible. I should know more than that.
Yeah, so he played with Trust. Trust played with Maiden. Clive Burr was leaving for whatever reason after the Number of the Beast tour. So Number of the Beast, great drums. Iconic drumming on that whole album. That's Clive Burr. That's not Nico. Nico came in after that and played on the album that has your favorite song, Peace of Mind. And he opened the whole album with just this amazing, crazy drumming on Where Eagles Dare. And then he goes into The Trooper, and then you got Flight of Icarus. I mean, that album to me is just outstanding. So, the drummer has a solo album? Not really, but hear me out.
Okay.
In 2011, he was asked to participate in a fundraising single for an Armenian music school.
We are the world.
Sort of, basically what it was. But it was Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath and Ian Gillan from Deep Purple were putting together this song to raise these funds for this Armenian music school, and they invited Nico to play drums, and on bass they brought in Jason Newsted from Metallica, and on keyboards, John Lord from Deep Purple.
Yeah, once you get Tony Iommi signed up, you're going to get people returning phone calls after that.
I mean, just a who's who of heavy metal, hard rock, just, the icons. So let's see how this sounds. This is from the single Out of My Mind. They called the band Who Cares?
What do we name it? Who cares?
Yeah, we all care.
All right, sounds good. So it's a good song, but what happens a lot of times where these super groups get together, and it's not just in metal, all kinds of different collaborations, it's kind of, I don't know, the top edges are taken off just a little bit. It's not quite as out there as some of the other music. They're all just kind of, wanting to put something together, and it's good. It's never that really good. I don't know a lot of examples of collaborations like this that really knock it out of the park, to use a...
We should do a show on that.
Yeah. Collaborations that just struck out, or, not necessarily strike out.
Was it meh?
It was like one more than meh.
Okay. All right.
Like just...
I was digging it. It definitely drags a little bit. They
Yeah.
could have edited it a little bit there. But, these are a bunch of old guys getting together, and they're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah. But there's been a number of times where I hear, oh, so-and-so is getting together with so-and-so. Now, one of the exceptions to that, I think, not in the metal world, but Traveling Wilburys. There was a lot of talent in that band. I'm talking, Bob freaking Dylan and the other band with, the other guy, Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne and
George Harrison.
And Roy Orbison. I mean, my God, the amazing talent that's in that room together.
I hated that.
I know.
I hated him.
But there's a lot of other people in the world that thought it was really good.
I
And
know.
I think it's catchy. It was not like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. But I think that was better than some of the other, hey, let's get together and do a super group thing. Now, I think...
I would give that another shot, though, because as I say that I hate that band, I haven't listened to that since it came out.
Now, where were you when it came out, though?
I was a kid.
You were a kid.
And I was into metal.
Yes.
And punk.
So go back and listen to it now with a little bit of age on it.
Yeah.
And appreciate that Jeff Lynne's the only one left. And there's the one guy that I don't know who he is. So, there's on the album cover.
That was Wilbury.
Was that he was the one that was traveling all the time. But although you can recognize everybody, then there's this one guy that I'm like, who the hell is that? Maybe,
Okay,
was he the
we'll have to
roadie?
look that up. I'm not
he's the
sure.
And I'm, somebody's going to go, oh, that you dumbass, that's so and so that you should know.
Oh, wasn't it Robbie Robertson from the band? or something like that?
Maybe it was that. I just
Somebody.
didn't recognize. But anyway,
Maybe
so
I'm wrong. Again,
that's just one of many examples.
Was not my jam. That
But
was
they
not my
actually had some success, and But yeah, I think if you went back and listened to it more, just for a Sunday morning hangout type thing, that you might like it slightly more. I don't know if you're going to like it though. So
Okay.
I managed to work in Traveling Wilburys into a discussion of
About
Iron
Maiden and Priest. What the
I get
hell?
points for that, for completely derailing
We
this
might as well
conversation.
start talking about Neil Young.
Oh, his
All right.
collaboration with never mind.
Not sounding good for Maiden.
Nah.
So, let's just see.
Damn it.
All right, on the Priest side here, the first American to join Judas Priest was Scott Travis, and he was drummer number 6. He joined in 1989.
They went to the Spinal Tap School of Drummers
They
Exploding.
just kept exploding, yeah. Yep. Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because they had Dave Holland in the 80s, and he went on to be a bad dude, like molester,
Ooh,
bad
okay.
guy. But his last album was called Ram It Down, and he actually wasn't on it. It was all programmed drums, kind of like what Typo did.
Oh, because he was kind of doing time or something?
No, he just
Oh,
that's what they were going for at
Yeah.
that point in time. So I don't even think he played on it. So he was out. Scott Travis comes in, and he is part of the reason they had their return to heaviness, because he brought really heavy drums. He brought that amazing double kick that he has, and Painkiller is the first album that came out. And that album starts with a Scott Travis showcase on the drums before that song even gets going. Now, prior to Priest, he was in several LA bands, including a shred guitar band called Racer X, which featured Mr. Big's Paul Gilbert. So before Paul went on to form Mr. Big with Billy Sheehan, we keep bringing Billy into this. He was in Racer X with Scott Travis. So we're going to play some Racer X from 1988. This is a live cut off of Extreme Volume Live, and this is called Into the Night.
Into the night. Jumping in from the skies.
That's pretty amazing. Do that live.
Yeah, I wonder how live that actually is, because that crowd is going really crazy for the club that they were playing in.
Yeah, I mean, and it sounded like they were playing.
They definitely piped in some audience noise.
So that being said, okay, really talented. That was amazing show-off song for a lot of those guys.
1988 LA bands.
Yeah. Now, when was this recorded?
88.
80. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's so, because I couldn't remember what date you said, but by listening to the lyrics alone, the music could have been 90s, 2000s, but the lyrics were 100% Don Dokken era lyrics into the night.
That was very, Ron Kill could have written those lyrics.
Ron Kill could have totally written that.
Yeah.
Probably better.
But it's very much in that style of, fist pumping.
Exactly. But as far as the music goes, those guys were in their prime and just shredding it.
All right, drummer against drummer. Who gets
Priest got it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, when you break it down like that, once again, if it's the whole band together, I just ever so slightly prefer Maiden. But when you break it down into parts like that and you pit them against each other, throw them in the ring, poke them with a stick. Yeah.
So,
They edged out Maiden. I'm surprised.
So when it comes to the degrees of separation, the parts and pieces of the folks who make up these bands, we are going with Judas Priest.
Yeah, you found yet another way to make me look like an idiot. It's not hard, don't worry.
Well, I actually have a little bit of a shrine to Maiden in my man cave.
Yeah.
And I only have a poster of Priest and an album of Priest up. So, I try to give love to both of these groups. It's really, really hard to pit the two against each other. I would probably give the edge to Iron Maiden as well, because that was my first love. That was the first band after I was into punk rock. And then as I got into Metallica, after Master of Puppets came out, I started going a little deeper into metal. And when I discovered Iron Maiden, it was just all done. Like, I was just a Maiden junkie for, probably the last half of the 80s.
Yeah, I had heard of Priest first because they had some classic rock hits. Yeah. You got another thing coming and heading out to the highway. That was Judas Priest to me. And it was just like, okay, just like a lot of other classic rock songs, you bob your head to it. That's good. Then I heard Iron Maiden, Trooper, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills especially. That song. Absolutely.
That's Clive Burr playing those drums.
Yeah. That galloping, and with the bass, you said the galloping bass, all of that just grabbed me. And then later on, I had more of an appreciation of Priest when I found out, like, the Turbo Lover. I was the one everybody rolls their eyes at, that guy that likes Turbo Lover.
Yeah, so the same year that I got Somewhere in Time and I got Number of the Beast, I bought those on the same day. I remember very well. I bought those two tapes at Walmart.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was 1980.
A lot of headphone time for you.
687, and within a couple of weeks, I got Turbo. So I was into Maiden and Priest at the same time, and like I said, I give the slight edge to Maiden because to a 14, 15-year-old, the whole imagery of Eddie had a real massive appeal, especially since I was really into horror movies and still am.
Oh, so I totally see that.
Had this massive appeal to me on a visual spectrum, and plus I'm just an art guy, you know? So again, give the slight edge to Maiden, but I love both of these bands so much, and just the sum of all these parts. I mean, you heard today all of these great songs and other things that these guys did, taking breaks from the bands that made them famous. Yeah. And it's still pretty amazing. So,
and the fact that you found a way to play Priest and Maiden on this show yet again.
Yes, I find ways to get into the mainstream.
Yes.
And still be somewhat obscure. So, what about the bands? What do Maiden and Priest think about each other? So, did you know that Maiden opened for Judas Priest on their British Steel tour in 1980 and again in 1982 on the Screaming for Vengeance tour? Maiden had Number of the Beast out and Priest were touring on Screaming for Vengeance. Ooh. I can't even imagine what that was like.
Imagine having that as your creds. You're like, yeah, I saw them both back to back on the same stage.
Yeah, let us know if you saw any of those shows, because that had to be amazing. Now, like we said at the beginning of the episode, there are rumors that Maiden and Priest are going to tour next year in 2022.
That's going to be massive if they do.
I hope that's the case. They will both have new albums out. I mean, that would be... I'm assuming that Priest would have to open and Maiden would close, but who knows?
They may just flip it every other show or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, Maiden's going to say, "Hey, dude, we've doubled your numbers."
That's true.
So.
They may pull that out. Pull out the album sales card. Have you seen the charts?
Yeah. But again, both just amazing bands. And I'm going to play out a song today. We don't have to review it. We're just going to play this as our play out. But in 2000, Rob Halford put together a band just called Halford, and he released his first album with that band called Resurrection. And it just so happens to have a song that he co-wrote with Bruce Dickinson, and they recorded a duet, and it is called The One You Love to Hate. Here is Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson together on the same song.
See you next week.
Later.
Go Braves.
Thank